Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Foundational Fathers podcast, brought to you on most social platforms like YouTube, Spotify, and of course by our friends over at Faith Points TV. You know, we are a show that loves to prove that dad jokes fix some things, where duct tape fixes most things, but faith, of course, fixes everything. And I'm your host today here, Nick, the mute bass player, alongside Marcus the Philippian and the human metronome, Nathan Haley. So glad that you guys could join us.
He's keeping time better than most pastors I know.
Yeah. Oh man. So we're happy to have all of you alongside here, along with Randy, our special guest. He comes from this dynasty of rock and roll, a family that shaped sound and American music, from Woodstock bass lines to the Ventures surf rock drum grooves. But instead of chasing fame, this man found a deeper calling, spreading hope to the brokenhearted. We are honored to have this frontman of Hopeful, Randy Taylor, with us today.
You're going to love this episode, but before we launch deep into it, we've got some awesome partners we want to highlight. They believe in what we're building here, and we're proud to have them.
Absolutely. First off, we have Sabbath Coffee Roasters. You know, this fuels our episodes, reminding fathers everywhere to slow down, to rest well, and to caffeinate responsibly. Brew bold, live Sabbath strong. Visit SabbathCoffeeRoasters.com and tell them the Foundational Fathers sent you.
Yes, and this episode is powered by Pretty Good Wood Turning, where craftsmanship is cool, sawdust smells like victory, and every handcrafted piece reminds you that God shapes us like that wood. Visit prettygoodwoodturning.com and let them know that Foundational Fathers pinned you to it.
This episode is also brought to you by Sasquatch Gun Oil, the only oil rugged enough for the wild and holy enough for a pastor's gun safe. Protect your tools, protect your family, protect your beard, preferably separately. Let them know we sent you by using the code FFP316.
Absolutely. But so that was our guest sponsor segment there, but we have this world famous, I think it's at least Macomb famous, but I'm pretty sure it is world famous.
Definitely studio famous.
Yeah, that's for sure. They call it the guest roast. The Hopeful headliner, Randy Taylor, everybody. The frontman from Hopeful, the band that was insisting on staying optimistic even when the drummer counts off in a completely different time signature. Randy's the only guy I know that can walk on stage, see a cable smoking, the PA buzzing, and still say, guys, I think this is going to be the best show ever.
And look, music runs in the family. His grandfather Larry played as the season bassist for the Monkees. That means Randy comes from who taught the world it's okay to pretend you're playing your instrument. And Nathan, let's not forget this hit Uncle Mel, drummer for the Ventures, literal surf rock royalty. Meanwhile, Randy's over here trying to figure out how to surf Spotify algorithms.
Yeah. You know, Randy, it's kind of unfair, though. Born into this family like that, I mean, the rest of us have to work hard to get our first guitar. And Randy, you probably got at your birth a drop D tuned, signed by Capitol Records, autographed by your uncle Taylor. I'm just saying. Or maybe it was a Martin. I mean, let's face it, Randy. You probably cried your first note in perfect pitch. Doctor said, it's a boy. And his grandpa said, yeah, but is it radio ready?
You gotta wonder though, does every family reunion sound like
Nam?
Just with more casserole.
That's right. And now Hopeful the band is working on a Christmas album. I mean, this makes perfect sense, you know, because of that there's no one else or nothing else that Randy's singing, you know, except for praying for miracles. Yeah. Seriously, though, Randy's the rare kind of frontman who gives audiences hope. Hope that remembers lyrics anyway. Yeah. Hope the mic stand stops sliding down, and hope the drummer doesn't drop a stick again.
Yeah, but all jokes aside, Randy, you've got a gift that no one that not only comes from your family legacy, but your faith and passion for Jesus. You're using music to give people something the world desperately needs: hope.
And that's why we love having you here today, brother. Even if the whole family tree makes the rest of us musicians look like we're still taking beginner lessons through YouTube. But truth, Randy, your legacy rocks, but the hope that you carry rocks even harder.
All right, Randy, I feel like we've roasted you enough to qualify as a church potluck entree. Let's give you a chance to redeem yourself with something even hotter.
Our dad joke. Yes, Randy.
Oh man, you guys are awesome.
You've endured the roast. Now it's time for the real test. Welcome to the Dad Jokes Gauntlet.
Rules are simple. If the listeners groan, we win. If they laugh, well, that's a holiday miracle.
It is, definitely. And, speaking, we'll just stay in the line with the music. Band practice blues. Why did the drummer bring a ladder to the band practice? Because the music was on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you call a Christmas song that is completely off key? A Hopeful the Band demo.
Oh.
Why do frontmen always get lost backstage? Because they can't find their key.
Oh, and let's move on to the recording session, all right? I mean, we've all been there a few times at least. How many vocalists does it take to record a Christmas album? Just one. But they'll need 42 takes on Fa La La.
Facts.
What do you call a worship leader's microphone that keeps cutting out? A faith test.
Do you believe it'll work this time? I mean, come on.
Let's move on to some guitarist humor. Why don't guitarists play hide and seek? Because good luck hiding when you're always turning up.
I got some legacy jokes for you, Randy, because you come from a legendary line of musicians. So what do you call a bass player with a great job? Grandpa.
Right.
Oh man. All right. This is some surf rock pun, right? Why did the Ventures never get lost at sea? Because the drummer kept a perfect current beat.
There we go.
Sound check truth. What's the difference between sound check and a miracle? A miracle actually happens.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, and speaking of newborns, and I don't have any of those at home. They've been a while since I've had one of those. But
Yeah.
Randy's first words weren't "mama" or "dada." They were "check 1 2." Is this thing on? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up one more time for Randy. He's survived the groans with us and the glory, of course.
Yeah. And if you like those jokes, pray for us. If you didn't,
pray harder. But really, Randy, thanks again for coming on to this show today. I really have been digging the message that you guys have been all about through your music. So I'm just excited to get to talk about that with you today. So I would just love to start off by digging in to the story behind the hope.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on here.
Yeah.
And that was one for the record books. You guys did a great job. I loved it. Yeah, I mean, where do I start? I guess we could, since we're kind of on the family legacy, I think painting some context there would be fun. So first of all, I have to address your joke about what was it, Grandpa playing for the Monkees and learning how to fake his instrument. He was actually the session bassist, so he was the one who was actually playing the music. Just to be clear for everyone on here. Um,
The other guy was
uh,
different. Yeah.
yeah, but he was also more well known for being the bass player for Canned Heat, which played Woodstock, and that was the band that he played in until he died, basically. Um, and so Canned Heat had hits like Going Up the Country and what was it? On the Road Again and things like that. Not the Willie Nelson version.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the music legacy in the family is it's a peculiar kind of interesting one, because you'd think that, all those things are true, that I just grew up with music and all this stuff. And, unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, but also fortunately, because God has used what I went through to bring me to where I am now. But I didn't really have a relationship with my grandfather or my uncle Mel. I never met my uncle Mel. He died in, I want to say, 96. I was a kid. Um, and my grandpa, I had a very vague relationship with. My mom and dad split up when I was really young, so I was like probably 2 years old when they split up, and so my mom remarried, and so I did have a relationship with my biological dad, but I was mostly raised by my stepdad, and so all the music legacy was on my biological dad's side of the family, and so my biological dad, he pursued music and had a really hard time, I think, being present and being a dad, and he tried, and there were moments that were really awesome, but then um he struggled. He had a really, really rough childhood. My grandma and my grandfather didn't last very long. So my dad was basically left fatherless, and he had three brothers, all with different dads, and growing up in the 60s and 70s with a lot of dysfunction. My grandmother was a drug addict and alcoholic, and then my grandfather was touring the world, playing with every artist you can imagine, um, mostly Canned Heat, but then also Jerry Lee Lewis, and he was in a band with Eric Clapton and John Mayall and Tom Waits, and he's been all over the place. And so my dad was always kind of like left abandoned, always waiting for his dad on the street corner, that he would never show up to pick him up for Father and Sunday. And so my dad really, they were, my grandmother moved my dad and his brothers to Hawaii when they were kids, and so that's why I was actually born in Hawaii. But they're from LA. My grandfather lived in Van Nuys, at least when he died. But I want to say they were in the Long Beach area before they moved to Hawaii. I think my dad was probably like 10 years old when he moved to Hawaii, and yeah, they ended up moving to Hawaii, and my dad just tried to fill the void of his father, and always knew that his dad had this big music legacy. And my grandma was a quintessential groupie, and so she always was in relationships with musical people. And she was actually, fun fact, she was a roommates with Etta James at one point in her life.
Dad
Okay,
left.
so yeah, so dad left, moved to Hawaii, and he pursued music with all of his being to kind of fill the void that his dad left, and he wanted to be good enough for his dad, and so he pursued music with all of his existence, and became a very phenomenal drummer and saxophone player. And but he got married really young to my mom, and they were 20 when they got married, and or no, I'm sorry, they were 18 when they got married, and 20 when I was born. And so that marriage didn't work out, of course, as is sadly common. Um, but um, my dad basically kind of just pursued music, and he wasn't really a present father. And we did have moments. So there was a season of my life where I did live with him, but it wasn't a stable one. And so I never really got into music until my later years. Um, because music kind of left a little bit of a sour taste. But I did have some great memories when I was young of like being backstage with my dad or on stage with him while he was playing a show, and he was mainly the performing drummer. Um, and he was a promoter. He's a big promoter, so he was always into music. And so he always would tell me the legacy of your family and all this stuff. And so I knew about it, but I don't think it didn't really sink in, until later. And I had a different outlook on things. And I was super fortunate to find Christ when I was a teenager, 17, and at least that was when it really started to hit home for me. And so I fell in love with music when I was probably, and it wasn't because of my family. I fell in love with music on my own, and it was worship music, believe it or not. Originally, I fell in love with worship music. It was probably like junior high, early high school time when was kind of going to church. At first, kind of first getting exposed to church, and I loved bands like Third Day and Jars of Clay and um, of course Switchfoot and Reliant K, Audio Adrenaline, like those types of bands, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I would say that was where it kind of first started. And then there was this band locally. You guys might recognize the name because you guys are probably closer to my age. Um, there was a band called Something Like Silas.
Oh,
That,
sure.
Sure.
have you heard of them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
See? All right. So that was the worship band at a venue down here in San Diego that we used to
Okay.
go to, like a church. It was like a young adults church.
Yeah.
And
So that makes a lot of sense because I lived in LA in '98.
okay.
And we
It
went
was
to
it
church.
was early 2000s, so for
Yeah.
sure.
So yeah. So
Yeah, so so that band was like one of my first, like, I want to do that. Like it was worship, but it was so different than like your mainstream radio worship. It was a lot more indie rock vibes kind
yeah.
of. And so I loved that. And then of course I loved Switchfoot, and I loved like kind of I gravitated towards the rockier stuff.
Hmm.
And then in high school, and this might be another name you guys recognize, but in high school, one of my really close friends and the worship leader was a guy named Dan Leas of a band called Augustana, and they had a big hit called Boston. And he was 2 years older than me. If you heard the song, you would for sure recognize it. They went platinum, early 2000s. And so I was kind of surrounded by music in other avenues. So it wasn't even necessarily through the family. But the family, I always knew like there's something in me that needs to be like communicated through music, but I didn't have the discipline as a
Hmm.
kid to like actually stay steady, and I didn't have the relationship with my dad consistently for him to influence me enough with music. But when I really like maturely, I would say accepted Jesus, when I was 17, I moved to Brazil. That's where I met my wife, and she was a guitar player, acoustic guitar player in the worship band. And so we started kind of like, I picked up a guitar and started teaching myself how to play guitar. I was 17, and then I couldn't quite figure out how to play covers, so I started writing my own songs.
There you go.
And then yeah, that like I did that forever. And then, it wasn't until I was in my early 30s that I started playing in a church band. And so yeah, believe it or not, like the music kind of started later in my life. It was always there, but it wasn't exercised until consistently until I was in my early 30s. I would say off and on from the time I was 17, I played acoustic guitar and, attempted to write songs. But it really started to develop when I started leading worship at our church. And yeah, and through the experiences that I've had in my life, I've had a lot of ups and downs with health, as I've kind of mentioned you guys offline.
Hmm.
Still experiencing ups and downs with health, but it's in a much more stable place now, thank God. Um, but so I've struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression, and also just like I would say the side effects of being in a being the child of a broken marriage.
Yeah.
And even though I have a great mom and a great stepdad, and still very much love my biological dad, and have a ton of hope for him. He unfortunately went on to struggle with drugs and all kinds of different things. And fast forward even further, when my baby sister, my half sister, when she was 15, we had to take her out of Hawaii. And so my wife and I, at the age of 30, I'm 15 years older than her. At the age of 30, we took my 15-year-old half sister in and had to raise her ourselves.
Mm.
And so we basically adopted a 15-year-old girl who I didn't grow up with, but she was technically my half sister. And so now she's more like a daughter. Although we're still biologically, obviously that doesn't change. Biologically, she's my sister.
Mm.
But now she lives with us, and she's an artist as well. She's actually signed by Curb Records. So our kind of music careers kind of started taking off. So she's also got the family genes. She's got an amazing voice and just
That's
a
awesome.
huge heart for the Lord. But to kind of land your question, I had to provide all
There you
that
go.
context.
Yeah,
But we can dive into more of the hopeful origin story. But I figured I'd give you guys, if you wanted
yeah,
to ask any questions or.
sure. I'm thinking Nathan's got something for you.
So maybe if you want to expound a little bit on the calling and struggle, like maybe deep dive into that a little more, regarding, autoimmune disease, anxiety, panic, and maybe how did God transform that pain into your purpose? How did
Dude, that's amazing. And it is exactly what I believe he's doing still. Um, is, you know, I through all of this, like the music being a little bit more of a pain point than something that was like always a good thing in my life. I saw music in my family as an idol. And obviously growing up a person of faith, um, and experiencing Jesus, I experienced, different purpose than what my dad had experienced and my family had experienced. They weren't people of faith. And now some of them are, which is awesome. But I definitely I definitely had a different perspective, and my outlook was, hey, uh I'm going to dedicate music to the Lord. And instead of trying to take music, which I believe was created by God, as an instrument to minister to his people, um, I'm like, I'm gonna take the gift that God planted in our family as this long legacy of musicians, and I'm gonna honor him with it to the best of my ability. And that was my heart, and I've always wanted to do that since I fell in love with music. But it didn't really happen until COVID. And so the pandemic really, and I think this is the story for a lot of people, but the pandemic really woke me up to the reality of like, hey, everything could be coming to an end. Or like, don't give up on your dreams, don't give up on your call. Now is the time to rise up in this gifting, if you want to call it that,
Yeah,
or this desire that God planted in my heart. And I didn't know how to start a band. I didn't know how to produce a song or any of that stuff when we started. I just knew that I had extreme levels of anxiety and panic, and I was experiencing some depression when the pandemic hit. I was having a lot of health issues that were untreated, which then translated into mental health issues, and and those things kind of all go hand in hand with the autoimmune. And so it was actually a song. I was in a season where I was like, I was ready to just throw in the cards on the music, because I had really wanted to start writing and recording music. I didn't have a band at this point, and I just felt really discouraged and felt like, you know what, I missed the call. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to do it. I also had, you know, I had made these demos, these songs, when I was a little bit younger, and they were half decent. I shared one with my grandma, and my grandma, this was my obviously my dad's mom, and she was really a really harsh lady. She was all in or all out, and so she told me, whatever she's like, don't waste your time. She said, you don't have the gift. And she told me that, like, when I showed her one of my songs. So I was probably 27, 28, and she was like, don't waste your time. I know music. I grew up around music. You don't have it. And so, like, don't waste your time and don't waste your life. And I'm like, okay. And that really obviously discouraged me, but I didn't really let that stop me. But it definitely put thoughts in my mind of like, maybe I should just give up. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is just some pie in the sky dream. And but the pandemic really kind of changed things, and I feel like God met me in the darkness, because when I was ready to throw in the towel, I went out onto my back patio, and I had a guitar, and I just went out as just like, I'm just gonna talk to God and pray. And I was experiencing that during that week. I was experiencing some pretty dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts. And I know those weren't my thoughts. But I started playing the guitar and praying, and God gave me a lyric, and it just ignited this fire in me. that God gave me a song, and there's a song in my soul, and I got it out, and I shared it with a couple people, and it was really impactful. And so I produced my very first song from that lyric that I felt God give me, and that was as a solo artist. And through that, I realized, like, I really don't want to be a solo artist. I'm not a producer. I haven't been doing this my whole life. Like, I need to partner with other people who are good. I know what I'm good at, and I can stay in that lane. But I'm not a producer, you know. And so I ended up connecting with some friends through church, that we were playing in church band together. And the first guy who's a co-founder of the band was Hunter Jackson. He's my lead guitar player. And he and we just hit it off instantly. He came to play drums for me at church. I was the worship leader, and he was also a worship leader at a different church, but he was one of those, multi-instrumental guys. And so he was producing his own music as a singer-songwriter, and I was like, I want to produce my own. So we produced a song. He helped me get in studio and kind of helped me hash things out. And then a bunch of my friends came in and played the songs, or played the instruments, and we released that song. But after that, I was like, hey, we looked at each other like, do we want to pair up and just like team up and do this together? And then so we came up with the moniker Hopeful, and it wasn't really a band initially. It was just a name, a moniker, like, hey, let's do Hopeful. And it was Hopeful, period, because it was this mission to remain hopeful because of Jesus, end of story. So it's hopeful, full stop, or hopeful, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, we will remain hopeful, end of story, Jesus paid it all. And so that was the heart of the band. And then over time, it's kind of it turned into a band, because after we got through a couple songs, we're like, we need a producer. We brought a drummer on. And so I had reached out to this guy, a few producer guys, and one of them was a guy named Gable Price from this band called Gable Price and Friends. And we were really getting into their music, and they were really popping off in 2020. And through that, we started producing with him, and started co-writing, and then we started co-writing with a bunch of people, and we just started really developing the skill. And 2023, we released like an experimental album that has our two pop our two the two popular songs from that EP were Pressure and Shipwrecked. That was our first EP, and that was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And then over time, we added more guys to the band, and our first drummer left, and we got a new drummer. And honestly, the life just came into the band after the first EP. It was the beginning of last year. Hunter called me and was like, I'm ready to create. I was ready to throw in the hat. I was like, okay, this is really cool. I love this. I was going through a lot of health issues, and but Hunter called me and was like, no, man, I'm ready to create. And I think we're gonna do it. And I was like, all right, well, if you guys are on board, because at that point I was like, kind of felt like I was kind of having to convince everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But that like kind of ignited this new excitement for the band. And Hunter and I have always been pretty locked in. And so yeah, in 2024, we started writing songs, and we wrote our song Wild One. And that became the kind of the anthem of that year. We released it at the end of last year. The EP was released this year, because you release one song at a time, for every few months, when you're like a new band, to kind of start to build a little bit of a fan base. And then it early this year, it really started, everything started taking off, and we got the attention of, some really big, high profile guy at Apple Music, who's become an amazing friend and mentor. And he told us that he thought that song was it, man. He said he thought that was a hit song, and wanted to share it to his audience. And so that song has been number one on their biggest Christian playlist multiple times now. And song is, in less than a year, it's over 5 million streams collectively on all the platforms. And which is wild. It's wild beyond our wildest dreams. But yeah, God has just really been stirring the excitement for the music. And then hearing, when you start to reach that many people, you start to hear people saying how the song's impacting them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is everything for us. It's like, the applause and the affirmations are those are fleeting. but hearing that somebody had an encounter with God through your music in a way that isn't maybe what they expected, or maybe it was someone who wouldn't listen to your typical, Christian music.
Yeah.
It's just very fulfilling. And every music, all the music has value. I'm not no shade on any
Oh
music.
yeah.
It's just special to be able to be part of something that's sounding and approaching it slightly different than I think what it has been historically.
Yeah.
So it's been a gift, man. I don't know if that answers your question. It's kind of long winded, but
It did, and that's great.
I was gonna say, did you read our notes?
I gave.
Like,
I
I
I
helped.
actually I briefly reviewed some of your notes,
I
but
would say,
but
like,
I was
you
just kind of
guys
going off the
covered,
cusp.
you just like covered like all of the questions we pretty much had for you, and like, I mean, I think you did a good job. So
Yeah, yeah. The only thing
Well,
I could say is that you say that your music kicks hopelessness in the teeth, right? So who are you exactly trying to reach, and what does that hope sound like to you?
yeah, I mean, when we say that, it's kind of a snarky, kind of rock and roll, um, kind of phrase that we use, just as I just kind of came up with it on the fly, like as just kind of joking around, and it kind of stuck. And it's like, the reality is like depression, anxiety, and hopelessness suck, right?
Hmm.
And so I just imagine like in a rock and roll setting where it's a little rebellious, it's a little edgy. I just imagine Jesus kicking the devil in the face
Yeah.
and saying like the hope that Jesus brings kicks hopelessness in the teeth. Like
Absolutely.
the depression and the anxiety and the feeling of being empty and void and not having hope,
Hmm.
like that's what Jesus came to defeat and conquer. And so our hope is that our music reaches not only the person inside the church that has a healthy relationship with God. We want to reach those people too,
Hmm.
but we also want to reach the ones that maybe feel forgotten. But we also want to reach the ones that are inside the church that feel forgotten. you
Hmm.
know the church worker who may be struggling with sin and feels hopeless because their job is tied to vocational ministry, and
yeah,
they can't be honest and they're stuck.
Yeah.
Or the one who was mistreated by the pastor who kind of allowed pride to slip in and kind of became more of a cult leader, which I've unfortunately been through some of that stuff myself. And um and so like we want to reach everyone, but we also want to reach the faithful, the people who are putting in the work and who are walking with Jesus as well. We think that everybody needs encouragement, and reminders that like sometimes things are rough, but at the end of the day we know where our hope comes from, and that's what hope sounds like to me.
And that's a great segue, because um, hope, was born at Christmas time. Hope was
Mm,
born, and the fact that
that's
you
right.
guys are throwing this.
debatable,
Well, yes.
debatable.
But the fact that you guys are throwing out there this Christmas album, um, it, when Christmas is tough for a lot of people, behind the lights, behind the trees, behind the lack of trees, the ugly sweaters, there's real hurt there. There's
Totally.
empty chairs at the table during the holidays. There's memories that feel like they're more wounds than anything. And sometimes
Totally.
the season is supposed to bring you joy, just only magnifies the pain that everyone so has. And so as you poured your heart into this album, what did you want people to feel that goes deeper than just the Christmas spirit?
Yeah, okay, so I got to be honest, it's not like a full album. It's just two songs.
Oh,
So
okay.
just to clarify.
It's an EP.
It's like a mini EP, right? It's
Gotcha.
so
Yeah.
it's one original and it's one cover.
Okay.
And I would say like of course we poured our heart and soul into writing the song, but we just didn't really think super deeply into all the different facets of Christmas and the pain that people go through. And I think for us it's like, um we wanted to create something that was fun, that kind of shares on some of our nostalgic feelings. I don't have a lot of negative feelings during Christmas. I didn't experience a lot of hurt. I mean, I definitely had some with being let down with family and whatnot, but for the most part, I hold on to most of the positive memories. But I do have friends that I have friends that have gone through really hurtful things during Christmas, and so um, I do understand that can be a challenge, but you know, we weren't thinking too deeply of the Christmas songs themselves. We were more like, let's have fun. Let's create a song that just ties into the nostalgia that we remember and that we love and the things that we love, and but also let's remind the listener that that Jesus is the reason for the season, you know, as cliche as that sounds, but that's the reality. So we do talk about things like the cultural things of Christmas, like the things that I remember that remind me of Christmas are like, you know, watching Home Alone and you know, hearing Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole on the radio, or um, you know, those types of things. Then we also kind of tied in the California aesthetic, you know, of like, we're from California, we all grew up surfers and skaters, and so we kind of tie in like some of our story, but then it's a reminder of like, hey, this season is because Jesus was born, you know.
Hmm.
And so it's a reminder. It's like, it's almost like a, it's okay to be, it's okay to enjoy the festivities of the of the season, but let's also not forget that Jesus is the reason, you know. And
Absolutely.
so that's kind of what the song is about. So it's not super deep, you know, but it is, you know, it's we had a blast making it, and we think sonically, we think people will hear it's still very much us. It's very rock and roll. It's very coastal.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also kind of has a timeless vintage feel to the song. And then the cover that we did was one of our favorite Christmas covers, was Christmas All Over Again by Tom Petty.
Oh, okay.
So, and we did our version of that song. We were unable to find one decent cover of that song. So we're like, let's make our own. And I think we did it justice. It's pretty fun and funny.
That's
Um, but man, I will say this, the about like the pains and the struggles and different things. We just finished our first full length album, and the album takes the listener on a journey of hope and joy, but also through some suffering and through some wrestling, and a lot of it just is just the things that I've struggled with as the primary songwriter for the project. It's just kind of taking the listener on an honest journey of where I've been, and moments where I've kind of gotten off path, but just as a reminder of like, oh, but I'm reminded, you know, what hope is all about, and trying to do that without saying those words every single time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you could play just one song from, well, I guess not really an album, but if you could just play one song from, let's say, your lineup for someone who really needs some hope right now, which one would you choose?
Um, I think Chasing After God would probably be one. That song was written. It was inspired by primarily Carly, my sister, who we adopted. It was inspired by her story because she went through absolute hell as a kid up until she was 15, um, and was basically like abandoned in a wasteland kind of vibe. And so that song was written as an encouragement to her. But then I also had a couple other friends that were going through some rough things that inspired me in that moment to write this song. And the hook of the song is, don't lose heart, don't lose hope, just keep on chasing after God. And that, I feel like that song has been a song that has helped a good amount of people. At least we've heard a lot of feedback on that one. um but also, I mean our song Wild One, you know, it talks about the realities of letting go of the past, and holding on to the truth of God, and knowing that he has your hand, and he hasn't abandoned you. So I think, you know, most of our songs are pretty hope induced or infused.
There you go.
Yeah.
Period.
Hopeful, period.
Period.
Oh, you know, there's a moment in the Christmas story where heaven breaks through all of the silence around us, and the dark night becomes a holy night. God with us, right? Right in the middle of all of the messes that were going on. So for the dads hurting this season, and the moms fighting to keep it all together, the family that's feeling fractured or forgotten, how is this two song uh, mini EP going to be something that is a reminder that Jesus still enters in the broken places?
I mean, I truly don't know how to answer that because we like I said, we didn't write this with that much depth to it.
So
You
would
know,
you say
like
there was a song that would break through and allow people to be reminded that Jesus still enters into the broken places in
yeah,
any of
not I would say the Christmas EP is just more of a fun, lighthearted
Okay.
holiday song. All of our songs are much more. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is beauty about that song because it's talking about Jesus and remembering that he's the reason, but it's also talking about like my nostalgia. Not every song is going to be a is not going to be necessarily a ministering song in that way.
Sure.
But like I just mentioned, out of our catalog, I think Chasing After God, Wild One, Everything Is Better, those songs are very hope infused. Fractured Soul, that those are all songs that are pretty hope infused. They may not be holiday
Yeah.
esque,
Hey,
but
hey,
yeah.
my favorite holiday movie is still Die Hard. Just saying. Just saying. So
It's a classic.
it is.
I actually, I have to be completely honest with you. I hadn't heard of your band at all until Nick had sent it to me. So I had, I'm one that once I find music, like probably like a lot of people, they just listen to the same artists over and over again, or the same albums over and over again. So I kind of get caught in that loop sometimes. But I did look up Hopeful, and just today and listening to it, and Fractured Soul, I just happened to click on that one. I really liked the message behind that one, and I was picking up my son from swim practice this evening, driving back home, and I said, "Yeah, the one of the guys from this band, we're going to be chatting with him tonight on the podcast." And he goes, "Really, this band?" He's like, "I really like this music. Like it's a he like it immediately. It had that draw. Like he just liked the overall sound.
It's
He was
cool.
listening to the lyrics of it and everything, and was really jiving with it, and I was too. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
I was to say I haven't heard of it yet, but I am hopeful that it is good.
it's
Oh, Marcus.
good. I love it.
He's always something else.
Sorry.
Oh, so because we have Marcus on the show, and that Marcus is like the Philippian. We like to call him the Philippian because his last name's Phillips.
Yeah.
So let's break that news to everybody right there. That's why his name is Philippian. But he's a dad joke champion. Okay, so we have him on the show.
I don't know. I think was it White Cross?
Oh, Rex Carroll
Yeah,
was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We had Rex Carroll from White Cross on, and he did stump Marcus over here.
I think didn't necessarily stump me, but he definitely
Yeah.
he had.
I'll bet you.
I have dad jokes. He had grandpa jokes.
I'll bet you can use this joke at your the next session for your drummer. You say, "Hey, you know why I leave a pair of drumsticks on my dashboard? So I can park in the handicap spots."
Yeah.
That's a Rex Carroll joke. But anyway, in the spirit of keeping things Christmas a little bit here, we have dad joke section number 2. Yeah, I know it's a double dose of dad jokes this evening. So Marcus, take it away.
Yeah. So why do Christmas bands always sound so jolly? Because they've got good elf control.
Oh.
Santa's audition. Why did Santa get kicked out of the choir? Because he couldn't stop saying, "Ho, ho, hold that note."
And keeping it things with the worship team tradition, why do worship leaders love Christmas music so much?
I don't know.
Because worship leaders are poor, and every song is a gift to the congregation. So yeah.
Oh man. Back to your Christmas recording sessions here. What do you call a Christmas album that is still not ready by December?
Mm.
Normal.
Pretty normal. Pretty normal. Yeah. Oh.
Christmas Eve service. Why did the candle lose the Christmas solo? It wasn't lit enough.
Oh. And of course, why do Christmas trees make terrible bandmates? Because they always drop the needles.
Yeah. Wah, wah, wah. All right, a little bit of reindeer humor here. What do you call a reindeer who knows how to tune guitars? Rudy technician. I don't know. I don't really get that.
Rudio.
Rudio technician. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, like
Yeah,
Radio.
rodeo.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Rudio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. See, I'm not a musician at all.
He bangs wood together, though. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
This guy.
Why does Santa love playing concerts? Because there's always cookies backstage.
Yeah. I mean, if that was the case, I mean, I might be.
There you go.
Learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
There's no cookies.
Why didn't the Star of Bethlehem get verse in the Christmas song? It couldn't find the right key to shine in.
Yes.
And of course, we got to close things out in the dad joke section with a Randy legacy one.
I mean, okay, so Randy's musical family is so legendary. Their Christmas caroling has 2 album distribution deal and a merch table.
Oh, so Randy, we're going to give you a chance to kind of just leave like a final thought with all the listeners out there, and just kind of sum up what you want the Christmas season to be about, maybe what you want your music to really speak for, and just kind of let people know what to expect from you and what your heart is.
Yeah, I think what I always hope for the Christmas season is just as a reminder of how blessed we are to have the gift that we have with Jesus. That's the heart. But also to take that moment as a reminder of like being grateful for the family and the gifts and the memories and the things that we get to do with our loved ones. And I would say for those who are suffering or struggling, to just remember that even though things in this world may not be meeting up to their expectations, that they are loved and that there is hope. And Jesus is sufficient, and all you have to do is call on his name and seek a relationship with him, and that will fulfill you. And so yeah, my hope is that Christ is honored and glorified in the season, and that we can have fun and enjoy the I would say the festivities and all the traditions, but not forget the reason for it.
Well, thank you, brother. That right there is the gift so many needed to hear today. Christmas isn't just the story of the Savior; it's and him being born. It's the story of the hope arriving on the darkest nights.
Yeah, maybe you're listening right now, and you feel kind of lost in the darkness, the loss, the anxiety, the emptiness, the sin. You think God won't forgive. Here's the truth: Jesus doesn't wait for us to get it all together before he came. He stepped into the mess with us. He came for you right here, right now.
And so you might be listening today out there and thinking that hope sounds great, but not for someone like me. And brother, I want you to listen carefully. That Jesus came for the broken. He came for the anxious. He came for those who think they have gone too far. Because hope, like Hopeful the Band period says, it isn't a concept. It isn't a feeling. It is a person, and that person's name is Jesus.
And this Christmas, you receive the gift you can't earn. You don't even have to deserve. Salvation, freedom, peace. If you want that hope today, pray this with us. Jesus, I need you. I'm tired of trying to fix what only you can heal. Forgive my sins. Save me. Be my Lord, my Savior, and my hope. I believe you came for me, died for me, and rose again. I belong to you now. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
And if you prayed
Amen.
that prayer, I want to be the first one to welcome you to the family of God. Secondly, I want you to reach out, whether you're on the West Coast or you're in the Midwest or you're in the East Coast or you're in a third world country. They might have internet out there. I want you to reach out because you don't need to be walking in this alone. And speaking of walking not alone, but with community, we here at the Foundational Fathers podcast wouldn't have this program available if it wasn't for the folks at the Intentionally Uncommon Initiative. That's our ministry partner, along with Faith Points TV. Those people and our sponsors, like Pretty Good Wood Turning, Sasquatch Gun Oil, or Sabbath Coffee Roasters, those people keep this show going and keep our ministry moving forward. And I know those guys were placed in our life for a purpose, just as much as the guests that come on our show are. And if you feel the call that you need to join us in this ministry and partner with us, please reach out to us at the Intentionally Uncommon initiative.org.com, on our Facebook page, on Instagram at Uncommon Dads, or wherever you can find the Mute Bass Player and Marcus the Philippian. We are there to be able to help you find community and find the next step at what it's like to become a child of God and live out your life for Him. And fathers, your family deserves your intentionality. So join the mission and lead spiritually, emotionally, and courageously, and equipping the men in your community to do the same.
And again, you can reach out to us on intentionallyuncommoninitiative.com. You can buy some swag and get some great books.
Yes.
Or just comment to donate monthly, or committed to donating monthly to the mission. All helps provide a opportunity for God's word and the gift of grace He is extending to the world around to be received, whether it is a Bible or helping hand provided. We want to be the hands and the feet Jesus intended hope to the world that is lost without Him.
And Randy, where can everybody find your music?
You guys can find us on Instagram at Hopeful the Band or TikTok. Our website is www.hopefultheband.com, and we are streaming anywhere you listen to music. So we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, you name it.
That's awesome, and it is also streaming in my music studio in here. It's been a wonderful experience getting to know your music and getting to know you, Randy. And I look forward to this long-lasting relationship. God puts us in the lives of one another for a purpose, and I know that the seeds that are planted won't return void. So thank you again, Randy, for coming on, sharing your story of your legacy and the hope that you know of and that you want others to know of as well. So everyone listening out there, follow them, stream their music, as well as their Christmas EP, mini EP. Share this episode with someone that needs this message of hope, message of light, the message of Jesus Christ. And do that with them today by liking, commenting, subscribing, and joining the brotherhood right here.
And remember, dad jokes fix some things, duct tape fixes most things, but faith fixes everything.
And until next time, I'm the Mute Bass Player alongside Marcus, Nathan, and Randy signing off. We will see you next week.